thank you all for having me here tonight, and I also wanted to say welcome to my colleague, Senator Bakian, who I know who's a regular attendee, and my new state senator, Mark. What's your last name? Yes, kidding. Congratulations, we're really excited to have you back in the legislature. I thought tonight I would start at the very beginning, and that's how I got involved in politics in the first place. Don't worry, I won't be long because I know it's snowing out, and I know you all want to get home tonight. And I really appreciate you all coming out tonight. I know it's a little tricky on the street, so please drive carefully when you get home. My first experience in the Oregon legislature was back in 1991. And I was an advocate for women's rights organization. Don't get too concerned, you guys. I worked on a number of very important issues: domestic violence, child support enforcement, and women's health. But one of the little bills that I worked on carries me through to today. And I worked with a number of my colleagues, my good labor friends, to help pass family medical leave in 1991. And Oregon was the first state in the nation to pass family medical leave. And what it did was very simple. It allowed parents to stay home with their sick children without fear of losing their jobs. And you might remember who was governor at the time, Barbara Roberts. She signed the bill into law, and we now were able to protect hundreds of thousands of parents in this state. And I realized that I could make a difference at the Oregon legislature. So 2 months after that session, I got the call from my state senator, and she said, "Are you interested in actually being a legislator?" And I said yes. So I ran for my first House seat that time in 1992. And I ended up running against a three-term incumbent, was outspent 2-1. My volunteers and I worked really hard. We knocked on thousands of doors, and I beat her. I beat her by 7 votes out of 7,000 that were cast. And I will tell you, to this day, everyone, I have volunteers come up to me on the street and say, "Brown, I was sure glad I walked that extra block because it made a difference," and it truly did. And you all know this. And I still have voters come up to me on the street and say, "Senator Brown, I was your 7th vote." But most importantly, and one of the reasons why I'm now running for Secretary of State, is I know that every vote matters and every vote must be counted. After that, I came to the Senate, and when I got to the Senate, things were very, very grim. And do you know why things were grim in the state Senate? We had 10 Democrats. And do you know how many Republicans they had? 20! It was awful! They didn't even need us to do business. They had a quorum without us. So I went to work, grabbed some colleagues, rolled up my sleeves. One election cycle, we picked up a couple of seats. Another election cycle, another $1 million. We picked up another seat. Another election cycle, we tied the chamber. And finally in 2004, you know all what would happen. We were able to take 18 seats to deliver a Democratic majority for the first time in over a decade. Pretty exciting. The best part of the story came because of all your hard work last election cycle. And you all know what happened. The House went Democratic as well. And what that meant is we were able to move forward on a number of issues, from putting more money into our classrooms, real protections for working families, expansion of family leave for the first time in about 16 years, the environmental protections, the first bottle bill expansion in 30 years. Thank you, Brad, for your good work. And we were able to pass civil rights legislation guaranteeing that there would be no discrimination in this state based on sexual orientation. Huge gain. So, now I'm taking the next step and running for Secretary of State. I've been working really hard on elections issues the last several sessions. In my role in one of my Senate committees, we've worked hard to crack down on initiative fraud. And last session, with the help of Diane Rosenbaum in the House, we were able to pass legislation through my committee that will crack down on fraud in the initiative system. What it does is prohibit those who have been convicted of fraud or forgery within the last 5 years from being paid signature gatherers. We think it's about time, we think it's good legislation, and I think it'll move Oregon forward. Also, I've been able to work on other issues In 2005, I stewarded through the state senate a bill providing for transparent campaign finance reporting. So now whether you live in Beaverton or Bend or Burns, you can get online and follow the money in politics and see how campaign dollars are being raised and spent. Secretary of State also sits on the State Land Board. I'm very committed. I've worked with the Oregon's tribes for the last 16 years, and the tribes have a saying that they want to plan for the next 7 generations. And I see my stewardship on the State Land Board as very important, making sure we use the revenues as much as possible for our classrooms, but also preserving the environment. And then lastly, the Secretary of State works very hard to make sure that government is working effectively and efficiently. And after 16 years in the legislature, I know we can make it work better. And I look forward to making sure we get every bang out of your taxpayer's buck through our audits division. So I'll close with that. I know it's a long time off until the primary, so I have a little slogan that I want each and every one of you to remember, and it's very simple. Just remember, vote for Kate for Secretary of State in 2008.